Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Financially Fit series, sponsored by Bank on Greater Milwaukee, Northwest Side CDC, and Ephesians Missionary Baptist Church. My name is Ariel Mayer. I work with Safe and Sound as a youth organizer in the District 2 neighborhood, so Clark Square as well as Layton Boulevard West. As a former educator, I'm very passionate about sharing my knowledge with others. I'm also a homeowner, taxpayer, debt accruer, and I've been audited. So I'm more than happy to speak with people about my experiences around money. Today we're going to be talking about payday loans, but before we get into that, I just want us to think about why someone might not have a bank account in the first place. And some of you might have some answers that come to mind right away, where some of you might not and would have to, kind of think about it for a little minute. I'll share some of these reasons next. So we've got things like distrust, unemployment. Sometimes it's not convenient to get to the bank. There can be bank fees. Also, some people have had past issues with financial institutions. So you might be thinking, I can't really have a bank account because I've got issues with check systems. It's not necessarily true. There are banks that will work with you, and we can kind of talk about that a little bit later. But also even lack of services. You might not think that they have anything that you need. And so why would you go to a bank if you don't think that they have something for you? Okay. So when we're thinking about that, payday loans, often these people have a bank account, but something has come up, right? So if we're not banking, oftentimes our emergency fund or our backup money is hidden in a mattress, a shoebox. I know a gentleman who found a couple $1,000s hidden in his grandfather's books around the house. Unfortunately, we might also be paying bills with money orders. And some of the main reasons that people don't bank are also the reasons that people who have bank accounts still turn to payday loans when emergencies come up. I'm going to show you this little video about payday loans and how people get stuck in that cycle, and then we'll continue.
Jennifer. She's having trouble paying her bills and making rent on time. So like 12 million Americans a year, she takes out a cash advance on her paycheck and she makes it through another 2 weeks. Problem solved, right? Not necessarily. Payday loans are different from other kinds of loans because you don't get to pay them back over time. You have to pay them back all at once. You can get them in lots of places, in storefronts, online, even in a few banks. To qualify, Jennifer needs 2 things: income, easy, she's got a job, and a checking account. Jennifer is short $375 on her rent, which is also the average payday loan amount. To get the loan, she just has to agree to pay a one-time fee of $55. 2 weeks later, though, Jennifer's situation isn't any better, and she can't afford the $375 to pay back the loan. But she can't afford another $55 to renew the loan. If Jennifer is a typical payday loan customer, she's going to do this again and again for 5 months of the year, paying $520 in fees, all for that original $375 loan to pay her rent. Jennifer's story is a common one. Payday loans are marketed as short-term solutions for emergency use, but the reality is quite different. To learn more about payday loans, who uses them and why, check out pewtrust.org/small loans.
So on average, a household with an income of $24,000 can spend up to $6,000 a year in fees to check cashing and payday loan businesses. That's 25% or 1/4 of their income that they never bring home. So while it might not seem like a big deal, it can really add up. For this hospital cafeteria worker, they were earning $16,000 a year. They needed $200 to pay bills. They paid a $38 fee to borrow the $200, but next payday did not have the money. A year later, they paid $38 every 2 weeks, equaling $988, but they still owed that $200. So really, those finance charges and fees can become greater than the amount borrowed pretty quickly. This is what we would call predatory lending. And there are lots of names for the same type of lending. It might be payday loans, check advance loans, cash advance loans, post-dated check loans, or quick cash loans. There are other types of predatory lending too. If a loan sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So what counts as predatory lending? Any high interest loans, if there are outrageous fees, if there are high pressure salespeople, unaffordable repayment loans also, even harassing collection tactics and deceptive advertisement can count as predatory lending. And the best way to protect yourself from this is to just know the difference and to be really aware as you're looking into your options. So we've got some non-traditional services at a glance. And what you'll see here, we have check cashing and payday loans, with the problems being often that they charge higher fees, and the fees could be avoided or reduced by using lower cost alternatives. Or for the payday loans, those fees, again, are for a short period, but if they can't pay back in 2 weeks, often those fees or interest rate can be extreme. So 500% for your interest rate there. Some solutions would be, borrowing from friends or charitable organizations, a loan from a local bank or credit union, or a low fee credit card advance. Unfortunately, sometimes those aren't your options, and this is where we get kind of stuck. We've also seen it suggests build savings for your next short-term cash need, and that's definitely a long-term solution and not something that's going to help you in an emergency. We understand that things come up, and that's where we want to give you guys some alternatives for that situation. Check cashing can really add up too. In high school, I used to cash my check at Pueblo Foods, a local grocery store. They charged 10%. My check was usually around $200, and I thought, not a big deal. That's only $20 a check. But after one whole year, I realized I'd taken home $4,680, but I'd actually earned closer to $5,200 because I'd spent $520 just getting my own money rather than opening that checking account. So often check cashing is that first, blockade. But then if you also have, if you have a checking account and you need that emergency money, that's really where they get you. Some other ways that they can kind of wrangle you in when you're in need of money in a jam would be auto title loans. A lot of times those have really high interest rates and you risk losing the vehicle. Pawn shops can sometimes be an option if you're really short on cash. The nice part is that you're not necessarily going to have interest rates. You're just going to lose the value of what you bought in the loan or what you borrowed, and whatever you put up as collateral. The sad thing is, if you can't pay back, sometimes that means that now, grandma's favorite necklace or those nice earrings that you got as a gift, whatever you've put up as pawn is now going to be lost. So that's also one of those really sad situations if you are unable to pay. There are also other things like rent to own and subprime car financing that I would definitely say find other ways to get these items. A lot of times they're overpriced or the interest rate is just too high. And if you can, try to use public transportation, borrow a friend's vehicle, look into some of those longer term options rather than buying in advance and having really high fees. So, reasons people should bank. You're going to save money. You'll be able to cash your own checks, which we just saw saves money. You'll be able to pay bills without money orders, also a big way to save money. But also, then you have the opportunity to kind of build your own wealth too. So we have financial security. Money in the banks and credit unions is federally insured. So let's say there's a house fire. Your money that you saved in that shoebox is gone, unfortunately. But if you have money at the bank and the bank has a fire, your money is insured and you will have access to that no matter what happens at that bank building. And then also it's proof of bills paid. Sometimes those money orders, or if you're paying with things in cash, going down to the store to pay in person, there's less tracking. And then you have people who might come and say, oh, you didn't pay that bill. The nice part about having a bank account is you can check back with the bank or the credit union and say, okay, I see that this bill went through at this date. And then, like I said, building wealth. If you can, getting a savings account, even just starting it with a little bit of money, $20, can start to build you some wealth. Savings accounts can do a couple different things, and this is true of your checking account as well. There are interest accruing accounts, and there are also reward accounts. I would highly suggest that people look into their interest accruing accounts, because essentially, if you have money in your account, it's going to make money for you. Okay, it might start out being a little bit, but it will add up the more that you let that money sit there. Oftentimes, the reward programs are a way for them to sell you more things. It gives you a discount on an item, but you still have to purchase that item in the first place. So especially if you're looking to save money and have your money work for you, you want to be using a savings account or an interest account for your checking account so that you're trying to get some money to stay in there and build more wealth for you. Also, if you use a bank, you can use, you should go talk to your banker, because they can help you look at your credit and provide you with information about the services that they offer. So of course, like I said, having a checking and savings account is that first step, but then talking to that banker. Sometimes you don't even know that they offer services that you might need. For instance, ABLE accounts are accounts for people with disabilities, and those accounts will help them pay for equipment and expenses. So making sure that you talk to a banker about what they do offer is great. Sometimes they'll even have ways for you to save money in a long-term sense, like the 529 accounts are for education. And you could start that with your young ones when they're really, really young, babies. As soon as they get that social security number, you can start that savings account for them. Just put a little bit in there, and that interest every single, month will add up. And then you'll actually have a decent amount of money when it is time for them to go to school. So really think about your banker as someone who is there to help you figure out the best way to use all their services. So alternatives to payday loans, we're talking some short-term solutions. That would be small consumer loans. I know we just talked about these payday loan places. Not all of them are terrible, right? Um, credit union loans, and small consumer loans, as long as you are shopping around for loan terms and interest rates that work for you, that's what's most important. Um, you can also sometimes set up a payment plan with your creditors. Um, that can include changing the due date of when your bill is due, or letting them know what you are able to pay versus what your monthly payment is at present. You can also ask your employer about possibly getting a payday advance from them. Some places can do this, others cannot. But if you don't know, then it helps to at least ask in case of an emergency rather than to lean on a payday loan business. And then there's also emergency assistance programs. And I want to make sure that people know that, emergency assistance programs are created through tax money. And these things are things that essentially, if you've been working, you've already paid for them. So don't hesitate to reach out to those emergency assistance programs and let them know, I'm having issues with my rent, or I'm having issues with paying my utility bill. Those are very normal things, and you've already paid into this process. So use your money and make the money that you've paid into it work for you. Some longer term solutions would be opening that savings account. Even if it's just a little bit, having something helps. Negotiating with creditors, sometimes, especially with medical debt, all you need to do is try to come to a resolution. And sometimes talking to your banker, they can help you with that process. So really, talking to your banker is a great step. There are also friends or family loans. This can be a short-term solution, but oftentimes people can end up putting their family in a difficult position then because of the position that they're currently in. So you want to keep in mind that, are you able to pay it back? And then also consumer credit counseling. So the same way that you would negotiate with your creditors, talk to a banker and try to find a way to reduce some of that debt overall. But the biggest thing, don't borrow if you have to pay fees up front, you do not know the lender, or you do not get the loan terms in writing. That's very important. You want to protect yourself. Even in terms of a friends or family loan, please make sure that you get those loan terms in writing. So when I was talking about resources, financial navigators would be one of those resources. Milwaukee.gov/FN, or that phone number 414-882-7440. They're here to help with a number of different things. If you're struggling right now with meeting your daily living expenses, you're struggling to get food or housing, you can't cover your insurance, then you should be calling this number or share this number with friends who are struggling, because we want to make sure that everybody knows how to use their money to best help them in their current situation, especially with COVID. Maximizing that income, using that emergency cash assistance and emergency loans. They can help you avoid scams, and they can help you budget for future issues. So don't hesitate. If you have any questions, you can always contact them. And there are all kinds of different programs throughout Milwaukee. So, feel free to lean on us. Other resources would be Bank on Greater Milwaukee. That's why we're here today, to share knowledge with you. But Bank On is also a coalition of banks and organizations dedicated to offering safe, low-cost functional accounts. And those accounts can be found on the bankonmilwaukee.org website. We also have information for renters in Milwaukee, so that renthelpmke.org is a new building as well as a new website. And all these different resources like community advocates and legal action if you have issues with your landlord, or even the emergency resources through the city. All of them are being offered through Rent Help MKE. They're trying to make sure that they kind of streamline that. So really reaching out to those folks can help you with those emergency costs. And then I also included a link from the city of Milwaukee, some of their services and programs. There's actually a number of different emergency community resources. Safe and Sound, the company that I work for, also offers some emergency resources. So if you're thinking, I need a payday loan, I'm gonna go do this, and even after this presentation, you're still really concerned because you feel like the money you need is an emergency, you need it now, that's okay. You can email myself, and I'll share my email later in this presentation. Or you can also check out these emergency community resources. Do not be shy. You've already put in money towards these services. Also, continue to educate yourself. You've taken the first step. You're here. You're at this training. So you're already starting to educate yourself on things like how to use your money in a smart way. You're already thinking about your personal spending plans. You're already looking at different things like building wealth and health through being money smart. The nice thing about Money Smart is that it's available in English as well as Spanish. So because I know that you're here soaking up this information, the one thing that I ask you to do is to keep it going. Now you've got this information, what are you going to do with it? How will you share this knowledge with other people? Are you going to contact your banker? Are you going to tell people that you're contacting your banker? If you're not sure what to do or where to start, are you going to at least contact financial navigators? Or would you even send me an email or a phone call? Feel free to text me too, just to say, you know, hey, I'm trying to figure out what my next steps are. That's totally fine. We're here to support you. So don't be shy. There are a couple different phone numbers and emails here that you can use, but also really try to share this information with others. It really only benefits everyone if we can share the knowledge that we accrue, right? So I want to thank Pastor Monk and Constance for bringing me in to present and putting together this series. I think it's an amazing financial fit series, and I was very excited to be asked to help with today's session. One of the things that during my training with Constance really stuck with me is your credit history does not have to be your credit future. Don't put this on your own shoulders. Please reach out, talk to other people, get information. The more you know, the better. But don't think that you're stuck in a situation for forever. There is help. There are ways to, work around certain systems. So don't feel discouraged, even if you have had some issues in the past, okay? And with that, I would like to say thank you all for joining us, and